Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Doug Las Vegas Bets UFC Betting Show. This week we're back in the Apex, headlined by a pair of fun lightweights in the Money Man, Renato Moicano, and the Problem, Chris Duncan. There's a few other decent matchups on this card, so as always I am going to go through every matchup from the main event to the first fight on the card to give my pick, and some bets that I have on the card sprinkled throughout. So without further ado, let's get into this. So we'll kick things off talking about the main event as Renato Moicano takes on Chris Duncan. Starting with Moicano, he's very experienced in the UFC, 12-7 with the promotion. Fought for a title even. Weird circumstance, obviously, with the Sarukian pulling out on fight day, him weighing in at 155 for the Dariush fight on that event. Stepping in, getting subbed in the first round, as many would by Makhachev. But still, it's just an example of him having been there, done that, fought a lot of the big names coming off a loss to Beneil Dariush. He's shown really strong grappling, really good top game, good body lock takedowns when he got on top of guys like Benoit Saint-Denis and Jalen Turner. He just went to work doing damage. He's good at doing damage on top. There's a lot of guys who are good at controlling on top and hunting for subs. Moicano is really good at maximizing his time on top, especially in more recent performances. Maybe not so much in fights like the Dober fight, but still he's shown that he knows how to do damage when he gets into good positions. He can capitalize on them. He's not going to waste them early. Problem has been he slows down pretty badly. I think he got a bit lucky in the BSD fight that he did that much damage early. I say a bit lucky because he did the damage. But BSD was on his way back to taking over. I think if there is no doctor to step in there, Moicano looked done. And you can say, oh, well, he was resting for a round or whatever, but he slowed down against Beneil Dariush too in his next fight. So this one being 5 rounds, I don't think it's good for him. I don't think he really even keeps things going over 3 rounds too well. So definitely he's looking for these early submission wins, these early knockout wins, and that's tough to do against a guy like Chris Duncan who only has 2 losses in his career. I think I and many others were suspect of his chin when he first came into the UFC because we'd seen him on the Contender Series twice, once getting knocked out by Slavoclaws and then almost getting knocked out by Charlie Campbell and landing a huge right hand while he was rocked on another planet and putting Charlie Campbell completely out. One of the best Contender Series fights of all time. So we know how tough he is, but like I said, some people question his chin. I think he's kind of erased those concerns, at least in my mind. I don't think he's chinny anymore. I think obviously he still can get knocked out, but he took some shots from Terrence McKinney early, and I mean, you watched the fight last time, I don't even think he had to land clean on Kyle Nelson to put him away in less than 30 seconds. So being able to eat clean shots like Duncan did shows resilience, and obviously against Charlie Campbell, he showed his toughness. Like, even if the chin's rocked, he's always still going to be in there in the fight. And not only has he shown that he hits hard and he's tough, obviously, so far I've really only talked about him getting beat up, but the guy has some really good wins. Obviously, he got that early choke against Terrence McKinney. It wasn't even a situation where McKinney gassed out. He was able to take advantage of a bad position early on the ground within the first round against Terrence McKinney. He dominated Jordan Vucenic, who he's out of the UFC now, but he's doing well in Cage Warriors again. I still think he's going to come back. I still consider that a good win. And then he got an early guillotine on Balaji Oki, who's a physical freak. So, I mean, this guy's got good submission skills with a couple guillotines in that Anaconda. He's got knockout power, even if he doesn't have one in the UFC. Just watch the Charlie Campbell fight. Watch how he lands on these guys, how he landed on Vucenic. And I think he's got good cardio. I mean, you look at the Habecki fight, and he's able to push late in those rounds in a high-paced war where he's taking damage. And I think that's going to be the difference here. That's the difference in my prediction, is I could see Moicano having success getting on top early, maybe even getting the finish. I think that's his path. But if it reaches rounds 3, 4, 5, and Duncan's still not out of there, not completely damaged to oblivion like BSD was, I think Duncan's going to start to put it on him, because Duncan's still there. He still throws and lands hard late. He has the submission game. His takedown defense is a little concerning, so I do think Moicano could get off to a good start. But overall, just with this being 5 rounds and Duncan being so tough, hard to put away, having the competent ground game, so Moicano's not just going to stick in a submission, I really think that Duncan, also who's live early, I should mention, he's coming off a first round win. He has that early upside as well, but I think his cardio is so much better. And even though Moicano's been scheduled for more 5-rounders than him, I think Duncan's the more 5-round fighter than Moicano. And I think it's really going to show if they reach those later stages. I have a hard time seeing Moicano really fix his cardio at 36, getting up there in age, having had his shot at the title. He even talked about knowing that once he lost that, it was hard to get back, so his motivation is a bit of a question for me at this point even. Well, Duncan is still just 32. He's on the rise, 6-1 with the UFC and Contender Series. So yeah, I think this is Duncan's rightfully favored here. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to get involved. I'm going to look at those late round props and think about it a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to get involved on the money line. I agree with that price on both sides. But overall, my pick is going to be Chris Duncan via late stoppage. In the co-main, we got a matchup of Brazilian strawweight grapplers as Virna Jandiroba takes on Tabatha Ricci. On the Jandiroba side, she is now 37 years old, coming off a loss to Mackenzie Dern for the vacant title. Although she has a wealth of experience, having shown a really strong ground game, having submitted some very tough tests, having beaten a lot of top contenders to earn that title shot. Although, like I said, now 37 years old, I am concerned about her going on the downswing. Her striking improved to a decent passable level, but she never really became a striker, and it was kind of inevitable that she ran into another strong grappler like Dern, someone with the strong enough base to force some striking exchanges, and Dern was even out grappling her there. So at this point, at 37 years old, I question where she's going to go coming off this title loss, now getting up there in age, taking on Tabatha Ricci, who very small even for the weight at about 5'1" with a short reach, but she is a slick grappler, and she's coming off a TKO win over Amanda Ribas, where she showed might be a little more dangerous on the feet than we thought. Even though that was in the clinch, it was just a clean elbow to the eye. It was a weird finish. I don't actually think she's a power striker or anything, but she does have decent active hands. She's decently athletic, and she's really tough to grapple. And when she gets her grappling going, I mean, she has some slick submissions of her own. She got that nice armbar against Jessica Penne. I think Ricci is pretty good. Her only loss in the last few years to Yan Xiaonan in what was a terrible matchup. She was just way outsized in the reach department, and when she couldn't get the grappling going, had no answers. So when it comes to this matchup, I'm going to pick Ricci, mostly just because she's younger, and I think she's going to be the higher output fighter. She lands a lot more strikes per minute. I don't think Jandiroba is going to be able to control her on the ground. I just think she's too slick, too athletic. She's going to be quicker. So I'm going to take Ricci to get a decision here. I'm probably going to end up playing her money line. I'm waiting to see if I can get plus money right now. It's been hovering between minus 110, minus 105. So I'm being greedy, waiting for that plus money on the side. But yeah, I do think Ricci's the side here with Jandiroba coming off that title loss now at 37 years old. I just have a hard time seeing her turn things around for more success, especially when you're facing another tough matchup and a good anti-grappler in Ricci, who's pretty aggressive with the striking and much younger. So give me a Ricci by decision here. Here we get a showcase for a young featherweight prospect as Tommy Gunn McMillen takes on Manolo Zecchini. We'll start with Tommy McMillen. He's the undefeated prospect here, coming off a fantastic battle on Contender Series with David Moyen, where he won a majority decision after nearly getting taken out in the first round, showing real good durability to survive that first round, and then started putting the pressure on late, which was really impressive for a fighter who had never been the distance in his pro career, had finished all his previous wins by sub or KO, mostly by sub. He's got a strong wrestling background, and obviously he showed good pressure striking on the Contender Series. He can keep a high pace. Not the best defense. He'll eat a couple, but he is durable and his youth is still intact, so I wouldn't expect his durability to fade anytime soon. On the other side, Manolo Zecchini is an Italian fighter who is coming back from a bit of a layoff here since his first UFC fight, which was a first-round TKO loss to Morgan Charrier, where he took a body kick. He's a decent striker. He hasn't really shown much at the UFC level. Like I said, he's been gone for a while. He's only 29, a couple losses around the regional scene. There's not much to really blow you away with Zecchini, especially because how quickly a guy like Morgan Charrier dispatched him. And that's not to disrespect Charrier, it's just to say he's not taking out many guys in the first round. He didn't get Landwehr out of there till the third round. Nathaniel Wood beat him. And those are quality opponents, but still, this is... well, let's just say McMillen's minus 1,000, whatever, for a reason here. I'm not taking the Zecchini shot, and I'm certainly not putting McMillen in any of my parlays either. I think this is a spot where McMillen just gains some experience. We learn a bit more about him, see what kind of steps he's going to take when he gets in the UFC game. But there's no betting value here unless you want to take McMillen by submission or KO. I lean for him to get the submission here. I think he has a massive grappling advantage against the striker and Zecchini. But I also wouldn't be shocked if he got a TKO because we've seen Zecchini go down from a body shot in round 1 before. And it's obvious McMillen has some decent striking and he had some fun striking in his last fight too. In the end though, give me Tommy McMillen by first round submission. We will stay at featherweight here in a fun one of two guys looking to pick up their first UFC win as Robert Ruchala takes on Jose Delano. We'll start with Ruchala, the well-rounded former KSW champion. Comes in, he lost his debut in a decent fight with William Gomis. We know Gomis is a pretty good fighter. He has wins over solid guys like Francis Marshall, who I rate, as the win over Joe Anderson Brito, even though it was a controversial decision. Gomis a good, tough fighter to take on your debut, and he took him on in his home country of France, at UFC Paris back in September. He's a pretty good grappler, pretty good striking. He's got 5-round experience outside the UFC. Like I said, he was the champion KSW, with his only loss in that promotion coming to Pereira, who's one of the top prospects around in MMA. We're going to see him on the MVP card coming up in a little bit. On the other side, Jose Delano comes in off Contender Series, where he put on a really impressive display against Manuel Esposito. And before that, he had good experience in LFA too. I always like these guys that don't just come from Contender Series. They come from these decent organizations like KSW or LFA. So both of these guys have that going for them. But Delano really, really stood out on Contender Series when he took on Esposito and just used some real sharp boxing. It was a display of heart versus technique, and the technique was just too much. He was too fast, too tight defensively, too clean, too powerful, and too consistent over 3 rounds. It was a really impressive display, and that's why he's such a big favorite here. Now, as far as the odds, I do favor Delano. I think he's just the cleaner striker. I think it's going to be, for the most part, a striking match where he's doing more of the damage. He has the finishing upside there for sure. But at these odds, man, Ruchala, you're talking about plus 300 on a guy who's got a bit more UFC experience, 5-round experience outside the UFC. Probably the better grappler here in a 3-round fight where things can change quickly. So for my pure pick, I'll take Jose Delano by decision, but I'm really considering a play on Ruchala spread here. I get the strong feeling these odds are just wide when you're looking at both these fighters, both their body of work. Delano's just coming in the UFC with so much hype, and Ruchala, I feel like, had his hype put on a damper because he took on a really tough debut. So maybe if this looks more like a debut for him, or if he comes in and this was his debut, we get better odds on him, when in reality it's better for him to have had the debut. So again, yeah, Delano is the pick. Keep an eye on my socials if you don't follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Might have a play on Ruchala spread. Still debating that one. Now to bantamweight, as two guys looking to keep their UFC momentum going, square off in this fun striker versus grappler matchup. Ethyn Ewing, he is the striker in this matchup. He's coming off a really impressive debut where he stepped in on short notice, less than a week notice, against Malcolm Wellmaker, highly touted prospect in his own right. Went into Madison Square Garden and lit him up for 3 rounds to get a really impressive decision win. Showed a good durability, obviously a great high pace, and great striking skills of his own. On the regional scene, he's shown a lot of that. A lot of people were high on him going into that fight because of that regional tape. Although there is some concerns with his grappling. In his last fight before the UFC, a lot of people saw that highlight reel knockout in the first round that allowed him to turn around so quickly and take on Wellmaker. But before that, Billy Brand landed a couple takedowns. And Billy Brand, we've seen him against some decent fighters before, and his only loss were 2 good fighters in Peyton Talbot and Cody Haddon. But he's not a wrestler. He was a striker in those ones, and we saw him landing multiple takedowns on Ewing early in that one. So that gives me a lot of concern in a matchup like this against a guy like Estevam, who we look at him, yeah, he's coming up from flyweight here, although I'll say he should have been a bantamweight the whole time. He couldn't make flyweight. He failed to make it 2 out of 3 times. But the guy's a really strong grappler. Came in his debut and dominated Charles Johnson on the ground for a couple rounds. Next fight, took down Jesus Aguilar a few times, and most recently Felipe Bunes. 3 decent grapplers at that weight too. So, this is a guy who's really good control. Maybe he lacks that finishing ability that you'd like to see, although he's just 29 years old and now moving up in weight. Maybe he can fill out more. Maybe this will help solve his cardio issues as he slowed down a little late against Charles Johnson, although everybody slows down late against Charles Johnson, in fairness. But yeah, overall in this fight, I think you have to take Estevam as the dog. At least I do. I look at Ewing and I see a guy who was a huge underdog, and that was a great win over Wellmaker. He showed that he is a much higher level striker than everyone believed him to be. But I still have massive concerns about his grappling. I don't think you can change his line against Estevam that much based on that, because he's not going to give you the same fight Wellmaker gave you. He's going to see that tape of Billy Brand taking you down multiple times and start licking his chops because he's going for those takedowns. So yeah, I took Estevam on the money line here at plus 125. I think any dog money is good. I think, I just see him being the much better grappler in this matchup. And if he gasses out, or if Ethyn Ewing puts the pace on him and knocks him out, so be it. I just don't think I've seen enough from Ewing to trust him to do that against a guy who has shown that he can control guys. He's averaged almost 10 minutes of control time per UFC fight right now. That's insane. Especially against a guy who's getting taken down by Billy Brand. So I took Estevam. He's my underdog best bet of the week here. I'm going to pick him by decision, although I do think an outside possibility is that he gets a submission. So I took him on the money line. But yeah, give me Estevam as the dog here. Next up, we got a showcase for a light heavyweight prospect that I am super excited about, as Abdul-Rakhman Yakhyaev takes on Brendson Ribeiro. We'll start by talking about Yakhyaev. He is a monster. He's 8-0, 7 finishes, an array of subs and knockouts, including his UFC debut where he basically knocked out Rafael Cerqueira and then choked him out. It is Rafael Cerqueira, but the way he did it, you see the explosive athleticism in this guy, you see the technique, and he's just run through everyone. But not in a way that makes you concerned about his cardio, because he does have that one decision win, and it's not just a 3-rounder. It is a 5-rounder. He went all 5 rounds in that decision win, so there's no concerns about cardio. I have no concerns about durability. He's well-rounded. He's shown he can finish on the ground and on the feet. This is a guy at just 25 years old that I'm super excited about. I have no issue seeing this guy have a belt around his waist in the future at some point. I don't know how long that's going to be. There's obviously some steps to be taken. You can't just throw him in the title right now against Yuri Prochazka. But against a guy like Brendson Ribeiro, who I'll go over quickly here because I think you know which side I'm on. He's a tough veteran. He's got decent striking, some slick grappling. He got the submission over DR Nurgajai, even though Nurgajai is pretty terrible on the ground. You have to be able to submit people to submit him. He's not just going to give it to you. Decently durable. He's never been submitted, been knocked out a few times. Maybe not the best striking defense. Overall, this is a guy that Yakhyaev should be able to handle. It's a decent step up from Cerqueira. I think Ribeiro Obviously, he beats some guys in the UFC. He's got wins over the guys like Dr. Nurgajai, Bruno Lopez in Contender Series. But Yakhyaev is just such a monster that I don't see this guy getting out of the first round with him. It's hard to find any value betting on Yakhyaev here because the betting odds, I think everybody knows what he is. I mean, if you watch one of his fights, you're going to be like, man, I want to bet on that guy. So the sports books won't let you bet on guys like that. Him round one is like minus 200. I'm not laying minus 200 on a round one bet, and I'm certainly not going to try and act like there's value on Brendson Ribeiro here. There's no betting value on this fight, but man, I'm excited to watch Yakhyaev again. I'm excited to see him get another finish. I think he gets it done early. You can flip a coin to pick knockout or submission. I'll say he gets it done by knockout because we haven't seen Ribeiro submitted. So give me Yakhyaev by first round knockout. Alright, next up we will look at the women's bantamweights as Hailey Cowan takes on Alice Pereira in a matchup of girls looking to get their first UFC win. We'll start with Cowan. She's a gritty grappler, digs deep, goes for it, but she has had some struggles at the UFC level, going 0-2 so far, most recently getting finished by Nora Cornell via rear naked choke. Beyond her wrestling and pressure, I don't think she's the most technical. I don't think she is very good at controlling on the ground. I don't think she poses much of a submission threat. Definitely doesn't pose much of a striking threat. On the other side, Alice Pereira is coming off a debut where she lost to Montserrat Hendon. Got out-wrestled, was pretty well given the vet lesson. In fairness, she came in at 19 years old. She's still just 20 years old. This is a really young fighter. When she was able to strike, she had some decent moments, but just mostly got overwhelmed by the pressure. And in this matchup, the same thing could very well happen, although I do think Hendon's better than Cowan. But I'm going to pick Pereira because she's so much younger and has experienced that now. And then taking that step down, I think I understand why the odds are so tight. Because I understand the Cowan side of, we just saw this girl lose to a pressure grappler who's not the highest level in Hendon. So why not take another pressure grappler who's not the highest level? Well, I'm not going to because Pereira's 20 years old and just coming off her UFC debut. There is massive potential for her to get better here, whereas I don't think Hailey Cowan's getting any better. I think Hailey Cowan is what Hailey Cowan is, and Alice Pereira is the prospect who's going to be making the serious improvements. And even if we get the same Pereira in her debut, is Cowan as good as Hendon at that game? Can she even do that? I don't know. So I'm going to pick Pereira here. I'm not going to bet it for the obvious reason of we just saw Pereira lose to a girl like this. But in the end, my main point here is I'm not eager to back Cowan like some are at dog odds because of the youth of Pereira. I think a lot of people are underestimating not just the potential for growth, but the potential for exponential growth from her coming off that debut. We could really see this become the true debut, once you get those jitters out of the way. Maybe she does a bit more of what she did in the gym. Maybe she knows what she needs to work on now. So I'm going to pick Alice Pereira to get a decision here, but there isn't much confidence in that read. Next, we go to flyweight for a good one as Alessandro Costa takes on Stewart Nicoll. Now, we'll start with Costa. This is a good fighter. You don't let the UFC record fool you. This guy's legit. Probably one of the best fighters on the roster with a losing record. You look at the win over Kevin Borjas and you'll see what I mean. Even look at the fight with Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg, right after this fight, went on to sleep Matt Schnell and go 5 rounds with Alessandro Pantoja. And this guy went 29-28 with him, where he was out striking him, and Erceg needed to hold him against the fence to get the win in round 3. Just a 29-28, a close fight. So I think Costa's really good. This guy has really good striking, good leg kicks that helped him chop down and finish Kevin Borjas, a tough, dangerous striker. And then he was competitive with Amir Albazi, a top guy, in his debut when he came in there. The loss to Alden Correa was a bit ugly. He had that injury late. But that's one fight. I'm not going to overthink that. I think this guy is a seriously skilled and well-rounded fighter coming out of that gym with Diego Lopez. And he's taking on Stewart Nicoll here. Stewart Nicoll's an aggressive, pressure wrestler coming off that loss to Ruchala. And I think that loss kind of showed what happens when you can't get the grappling going for him. He's just not very athletic on the feet, doesn't have much power, doesn't have much finishing threat, struggles to control guys on the ground. And for that reason, I'm going to comfortably pick Costa here. I think Costa's a great parlay leg here. I think he's just better than Nicoll everywhere. I think he's a better grappler. I think he's a way more dangerous striker, more well-rounded striker, more durable. So I'm going to take Costa to get the win inside the distance here. Specifically, I'll take him to get a late third-round KO. I just think he's going to keep putting the damage on Nicoll. Nicoll's decently tough. Wear him down and he'll get him out of there late. But I am definitely going to have Costa in that 3-leg parlay that I put out every week on my Twitter and Instagram. If you don't follow me there, Doug Las Vegas Bets, go make sure you follow me so you don't miss that when it comes out. At the end, this is Alessandro Costa all day. I love this matchup for him. Next, we go to flyweight for a matchup of the Brazilians as Dione Barbosa takes on Melissa Gatto. This is a good one. A fun striker versus grappler one as Dione Barbosa comes in with a strong ground game. She's got 2-2 in the promotion with wins over Karikate and Diana Belbita, the arm triangle over Belbita. She also got that submission win on the Contender Series. A little questionable striking, some questionable durability. Josiane Nunes has the knockout win over her on the regional scene. And when she's faced competent defensive grapplers like Maverick and Karine Silva, she has lost. On the other side, Melissa Gatto, 3-2 with the promotion. 3 finish victories, which it's rare to see a woman with that kind of finish rate. Although, when you look at the competition, it becomes a little less impressive. It was Victoria Leonardo, Sijara Eubanks, Tamiris Vidal, and then her losses, Trace Cortez and Ariane Lipski. So for this one, I lean towards Barbosa just because I think she's the better grappler. I think she can neutralize Gatto. I think if you can neutralize Gatto's striking, you're going to beat her. But I am hesitant because I think Gatto can force a couple striking exchanges, and she's dangerous enough. And I don't really trust Barbosa's durability if she does take a big shot to the body. So I'm going to pass betting on this one, but it's a very slight lean on Barbosa to get a decision just with control time. Next, a fun matchup of middleweight finishers as Azamat Bekoev looks to get back in the win column against Tresean Gore. We'll start with Bekoev. He's a strong wrestler with some pretty devastating ground and pound when he gets on top. He's coming off the loss to Yusri Belgarwi, but I think after last week, we know that's not as bad a loss after he dismantled Mansour Abdul Malik as well in similar fashion. But he's a strong wrestler. When he gets on top, unleashes that ground and pound. He's a hard hitter. He finished Zach Reese in that way. And Zach Reese went on to have the 3-round battle with Michel Pereira. I think that win aged pretty well. On the other side, you look at Tresean Gore. He's a decent striker. Got some good pop in his hands, although the problems are abundant. He's not a great grappler. He lost the striking to a grappler against Rodolfo Vieira last time out. I'm not overly confident in his durability. He got knocked out by Cody Brundage, and he hasn't had the power to, do much damage over his UFC run, to put it kindly. So with that, I understand the price tag on this one. I understand Bekoev being such a huge favorite. He has a massive grappling advantage. I think he has the striking advantage as well. He's the harder hitter. He's more durable. I guess Gore has the puncher's chance, but I have a hard time saying he has anything more than that. I expect Bekoev to get going early, get another early finish in this one, and get back on track here. Next up, a clash of styles at heavyweight as Guilherme Pat comes in with an undefeated 6-0 record, taking on Thomas the Train Peterson. We'll start with Pat. He's coming off that UFC debut where he defended the clinch and wrestling game of Alan Fry, landed the more damaging strikes. He used that length, that size of his well. He's 6'5", long reach. Damaging kickboxing, couldn't get the finish, couldn't put him away, but it was a solid debut, good experience, and he showed showed his good striking prowess. Thomas Peterson on the other side, a heavy pressure wrestler. He'll stay in your face. He'll land takedowns. He has a decent submission game. He got the submission finish on the Contender Series over Cole. And he will repeat it, rinse, repeat, just land takedowns, stay in your face. The problem has been his striking defense is questionable, as against Vitor Petrino, he was dropped and hurt bad early, and then in the third round got hit with a big uppercut that put him down, face planted him, and put him out of there. In this matchup, I'm going to lean towards Peterson. I think he's the more experienced guy. He's got the much better wrestling. We saw Pat controlled in the clinch extensively by Fry, and I think Peterson's much better than Fry. My only real concern is his durability, and Pat couldn't put away Fry. We haven't really seen much finishing ability from him at this level. So I think Peterson's going to grind him out to a decision here. I think Peterson decision plus 200 is a solid bet. I'm thinking about putting something down on that. As I think he's just going to be the better minute winner here. Although I do have trouble seeing him put Pat away because of his limited finishing ability, I will say. So give me Thomas Peterson to grind this one out and get a decision. And we will end off here with a pair of lightweights coming back from rather significant layoffs as Lando Vannata takes on Darius Flowers. Start with Vannata. He's coming back from about 3 years away. His last fight was against Charles Jourdain down at featherweight. He got stuck in the guillotine and his pants came off. It was an unfortunate one. Although I thought he was starting to put things together at featherweight. He was even a pick 'em in that against Jourdain. We know where Jourdain ended up going. So just to show you where Vannata was at, or give you some reference on that. He had the good win over Mike Grundy where he showed good counter wrestling, good striking. Went 3 rounds with Daniel Zellhuber where he just couldn't close the range, couldn't get his wrestling going. Got stung a few times, but that's a very difficult matchup with the length of Zellhuber. And I mean, if you look back at his early days, obviously he's known for the fun fight where he dropped Tony Ferguson, and got dragged into deep waters on short notice and gassed out. Had a couple good ones with Bobby Green, a majority decision with Matt Frivola, excuse me. So this is a fun fighter. He's got a good wrestling background, slick striking, decent submissions. Overall, I like Lando. I think he's fun, and if he wasn't coming off the layoff here, I'd be a lot more confident in him. Because Darius Flowers on the other side is a guy who I've loved to fade. Came in against Jake Matthews, and I remember Matthews inside the distance being only minus 110, and I loved that spot. Ended up gassing out there. Michael Johnson was able to wrestle him comfortably for 3 rounds, although he gassed late and had a weird moment where I think Flowers landed a body shot or something weird that almost took him out of there, but he couldn't find the finish right at the end there and was just controlled on the ground, completely washed in that one. And then in his latest fight, again, submitted by Evan Elder in the second round over a year ago, so he's also coming in off a significant layoff. He's a decent striker, not very durable. When you get him on the ground, he's not going to get up, and he doesn't land the hardest punches. He's not a very physical guy either. So in the end, I like Lando Vannata here. I do think there's a reason he's this big a favorite coming off the long layoff. I'm debating adding him to my parlay this week with Costa, just because I don't really see how Flowers gets him. Vannata's never had chin issues. He's still just 34. It's not like he's coming back for a paycheck at 39 like a guy like Eric Silva, so I'm not worried about him going out there and just falling short. I think he's still competitive. I think he can out-wrestle Flowers, out-grapple him, and out-strike him. I just think this is Lando Vannata across the board if you're looking at it skill-wise. The only reason to really be hesitant is the layoff, and Flowers isn't some active guy who you're going like, oh, he doesn't have any ring rust either. So they're both going to be shaking it off a bit. But Vannata is just the way better, more experienced fighter at this level. So give me Lando Vannata here. I'll take him to get a late stoppage. Give me Lando by 3rd round submission. Well, thank you all once again so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Doug Las Vegas Bets MMA show. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you picked up some valuable information. As always, leave a like, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what I'm doing better. Let me know some of your favorite bets on the card. I want to hear from you guys more. So please leave a comment. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like about the video. Let me know what you're thinking about the card. Tell me something. And as always, go check me out on social media. Like I said, I post all my bets on Instagram, Twitter. I post my dog of the week, my prop play of the week, and my parlay of the week, which will all be coming out later this week. So make sure to go check out my socials, and most importantly, enjoy the fights.